All right, let's get started. Just played against Antonio, a chess bot rated 1500. That's about at the advanced level. All right, so I went e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. So right out the bat, developing my knight off its starting square and attacking the weak unprotected pawn. They responded by defending that pawn. Now you're also doing other things. You're trying to control the center. You're also potentially trying to push your queen's pawn forward and calculate lines that would profit. But let's not get too in depth. Let's keep it nice and basic. Develop the bishop to c4 and c5. Very symmetrical. Bishops, pawns, pretty much same setup here. And to protect my e4 pawn from their knight, now you could slide the rook over, but both of them are common book moves. As you can see, this little book here just means it's a standard opening move. And they did the same. And then we took and pinned the queen and developed the bishop off its starting square, preparing that if they attack the bishop, I can bring it back here to g3 and work from there. So that's kind of what happened. Now they continued pushing the pawn. So to stop that trap, because if they were to push again, my bishop would have no safe place to go and would be captured by a pawn, and then I would be losing the game. So to counter that, I just simply pushed the h pawn forward, and then they pushed the g pawn, attacking the knight. I looked at the options here to drop the knight back to h2 and d2. Those looked a little bit more passive, and at least here on g5, it's a little bit more pressuring for them, their king, which also helps, coordinate my overall system. They castled. So right now, that means if my two pieces attack the f2 square, I could capture their rook, which is a powerful 5-point piece, and I would likely lose 6 points worth of value and gain 6 points. So it would be a fair trade, and numbering wise, a pawn and a rook is equals 6 points, and 2 minor pieces is 6 points. So it's not necessarily matter. In fact, even though the numbers come out the same, you don't want to give up 2 minor pieces for a rook in a lot of cases, unless the position substantially improves, which I don't think it would. So I continued on developing, push that c pawn so that I could then push the d pawn and try to take a little more of the center. Now they did what is now the engine analysis is considering a blunder, and I'm going to show you how I punished them for this blunder. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, there's a problem here. If I get a pawn here right now, I'd be forking their pieces, and I'm able to take a minor piece in exchange for a pawn. But if I do that right now, then the knight would simply take my bishop, and it won't work, because then I have to take back the knight, and then their bishop could run away. So what if we combine the plan we looked at before with this plan, and we have a multi-move continuation that ends with this fork and gaining a piece. So let's do the thought process here. The bishop's under attack anyway, so I got to start with the bishop. Takes f7, rook takes, knight takes. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, king takes knight. That's 4. b4. That's 5 moves. Forking. And then they will probably defend one of the pieces or capture the pawn with the bishop. So you're basically looking about 6 moves ahead. But that's only assuming you're calculating your opponent's best move and your best move, and that they actually make the best move instead of like the second or third best move, right? So this is how it played out. Takes, 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 and the fork. So that was exactly what we hoped. And then we gained a piece. And I may not have finished this perfect, but I basically, with the whole strategy from here was we're up a piece. Now let's trade our way down to a simple end game. So I went after the bishop and tried to break through the center. They got a little bit messy over here with their tactics. Right about here, because they're threatening h3 check, and that can get nasty, especially because they've got a rook ready to go and their knight's coming in. So I actually had to be careful here, but we danced around a little looking at different pressure points they were putting, and almost got in a stalemate there, but thankfully was able to avoid it. And I did play a little fast, so admittedly it was not perfect. But what ended up happening was I forced a trade here by attacking the queen and rook. King has to take. I mean, it would be pretty bad not to. And then check. Sacrificing a rook for a bishop, because that takes the queen away from defending this horse on f4. So at this moment, white has got us down to about an endgame and just needs to close out the deal. They did make a mistake here and gave me a tactic, because when your queen is diagonal to your king and there's a bishop on the same color, you can protect the bishop and cause a trap. So the queen can now only either take the bishop or stand where it's at. The queen cannot move out of the way, because then the king's in check. It will be an illegal move. And so that is how I was able to get a strong advantage, get rid of the pawn, lock the other pawn in place, and bring the game to a simple end game. Now, when you're closing the game out, when you got a queen, you don't want an accidental stalemate. It's very easy to do if you're playing fast. So I like to get her out of the way, off to the side, but blocking the king in on the 8th rank here. And then get your king to be looking face to face with your opponent's king, and that's the moment you can win the game with checkmate. So I hope that was helpful, and please leave your comments if there's something that I could cover a little bit better in the next video, and I'll see you